We're going to do this one simply, Prof had said. Nothing fancy at all. Conflux is fragile. He's a schemer, an organizer, a string puller, but he has no powers that will protect him. We pull up close to the motorcade, and Abraham uses the dowser to determine if a powerful epic is really in the car. The van pulls forward in front of the convoy. We throw open the back doors where Cody stands in costume. Cody raises his hands. Abraham fires the Gauss gun from behind. In the confusion, we'll hope it looks like he launched the bolt from his hand. We hit the entire limo, leave nothing but slag, and then flee. The surviving motorcycle guards can spread the story. It would work. Hopefully. And without Conflux gifting his abilities to high-level enforcement soldiers, the mechanized armor, the energy weapons, and the copters would all stop working. Fuel cells would run dry, and the city would run out of power. We're getting close, Tia said softly in our ears. The limo's turning right on Beagle. Prof, use the beta formation. I'm pretty sure they're heading uptown, and that means they'll turn onto Finger Street. Megan, you're still on target. Got it, Prof said. I was heading that way. We passed an abandoned park from the old days. You could tell because of the frozen weeds and fallen branches transformed to steel. Only the dead ones had been changed. Steelheart couldn't affect living matter. In fact, his pulses had trouble with anything too close to a living body. A person's clothing often wouldn't be transformed, but the ground around them would change. That kind of oddity was common in epic powers. It was one of the things that didn't make scientific sense. A dead body and a living one could be very similar, scientifically, but one could be affected by many of the odder epic powers, while the other could not. My breath fogged the window as we passed the playground, which was no longer safe for play. The weeds were now jagged bits of metal. Steelheart's steel didn't rust, but it could break, leaving sharp edges. Okay, Prof said a few minutes later. I'm here, climbing up the outside of the building. Megan, I want you to repeat back to me our contingencies. Nothing's going to go wrong, Megan said, her voice sounding both beside me and in my earcom. Something always goes wrong, Prof said. I could hear him puffing as he climbed, though he had a gravitronic belt to help him. Contingencies. If you or Tia give the word, Megan said, we'll pull out and split up. You'll create a distraction. The 4 of us in the van will break into 2 squads and go in opposite directions, heading for Rally Point Gamma. That's what I don't get, I said. How exactly are we going to go separate directions? We've only got 1 van. Oh, we've got a little surprise back here, lad, Cody said. I'd unmuted him when I unmuted Prof and the rest. I'm actually hoping something goes wrong. I kind of want to use it. Never hope for something to go wrong, Tia said. But always expect it to, Prof added. You're paranoid, old man, Tia said. Damn right, Prof said, voice muffled, probably because he was hunkering down with his rocket launcher. I had assumed they'd put Cody in that position with a sniper rifle, but Prof said that he'd rather have something heavier when enforcement might be involved. Diamond would have been proud. You're getting close, Megan, Tia said. You should be on them in another few minutes. Maintain your speed. The limo is driving faster than it usually does. Do they suspect something? Cody asked. They'd be fools not to, Abraham said softly. Conflux will take extra care these days, I should think. It's worth the risk, Prof said. Just be careful. I nodded. With widespread power outages in the city, disabling enforcement would leave the city in disorder. It would force Steelheart to step forward and take a firm hand to prevent looting or riots. That would mean revealing himself one way or another. He's never afraid to fight other epics, I said. What are you talking about? Prof asked. Steelheart. He'll face other epics, no problem. But he doesn't like putting down riots by himself. He always uses enforcement. We assumed it's because he doesn't want to bother, but what if it's something more? What if he's afraid of crossfire? Who's that? Abraham asked. No, not an epic. It just occurred to me. What if Steelheart is afraid of getting hit accidentally? What if that's his weakness? He got hurt by my father, but my father wasn't aiming for him. What if he can only be hurt if the bullet was meant for someone else? Possible, Tia said. We need to stay focused, Prof answered. David, shelve that idea for the moment. We'll come back to it. He was right. I was letting myself get distracted, like a rabbit doing math problems instead of looking for foxes. Still, if I am right, he wouldn't ever be in danger in a one-on-one fight. He's faced other epics with impunity. What he seems to be afraid of is a big battle where bullets are flying around. There was a sense to it. It was a simple thing, but most epic weaknesses were simple. Slow down just a tad, Tia said softly. Megan complied. Here it comes. A sleek black car pulled onto the dark street in front of us, going the same direction we were. It was flanked by a couple of motorcycles. Good security, but not great. We knew from the Reckoner's original plan to hit Conflex that this convoy was probably his. We'd used a dowser to make sure, though. We continued along behind the limo. I was impressed. Even though they didn't know where the limo was going, Tia and Megan had timed it so that the limo came onto our street, not the other way around. We'd look far less suspicious this way. My job was to keep my eyes open, and if things went wrong, to return fire so Megan could drive. I slipped a small pair of binoculars out of my pocket and hunkered down, sighting through them and inspecting the limo ahead. Well? Prof asked in my ear. Looks good, I said. I'm going to pull up beside them at the next light, Megan said. It will feel natural. Be ready, Abraham. I slipped the binoculars into my pocket and tried to look nonchalant. The next light was green when we hit it, so Megan kept trailing the limo at a safe distance. The light after that, however, turned red before the limo reached it. We pulled up slowly beside the limo on the left side. There's an epic near us for sure, Abraham said from the back of our van. He whistled softly. A powerful one. Very powerful. The dowser is focusing in. I'll have more in a second. One of the motorcycle drivers looked us over. He wore an enforcement helmet and had an SMG strapped to his back. I tried to peer through the windows of the limo and catch a glimpse of Conflex. I'd always wondered what he looked like. I couldn't see through the tinted rear glass, but as we pulled forward, I caught sight of someone sitting in the passenger seat, a woman who was vaguely familiar. She met my eyes, but then looked away. Business suit, black hair cut short over her ears. She was Nightwielder's assistant, the one who had been with him at Diamond's. She was probably a liaison to enforcement. It made sense for her to be in the limo. Something still made me suspicious. She'd met my eyes. She should have recognized me. Maybe she had recognized me, but hadn't been surprised to see me. We pulled forward, the light green, and I felt a spike of alarm. Prof, I think it's a trap. At that moment, Nightwielder himself flew through the top of the limo, his arms spread wide, lines of darkness stretching from his fingers out into the night.